All right, CNT120, we're looking at part 4 of our Chapter 4 lab. We're going to deal with network mapping. Hopefully you remember from our reading in Chapter 4, we got to a section there where we talked about network mapping and using some utilities to help with that. Well, we're going to use at least one today to get a little feel for the kinds of things you do and kinds of information you can get from using these utilities. So we're going to, on our Linux VM, we're going to use NMAP. We're going to download and install that NMAP and use that to map a network element. So on our Linux machine, I'm just going to minimize my command from the last time. I'm going to use the little GUI tool in here, so I'll go to Admin. Under Admin, I'm going to look for my Software Manager. So I should have in here Software Manager. I need to plug in my password because Joe Schmo should not have access to this. I'm going to look for or search for NMAP. So up top here, I will just search for NMAP, see what it finds for me. And in here, one of the first options should be ZenMap. That's the GUI front end. I will highlight that, or I can double click on that, and I'm going to say install on this. This actually shows the GUI front end. So I'll do install on this, let it run. You should see some kind of activity bar here showing that it is installing. We'll let it run. Once it runs, good, I have it installed. There it is. I'll close my little software manager. I'm now going to run this and map some information about a network element. So under menu, I can go to Internet, and I now see ZenMap installed. That's NMAP with the GUI front end. That's what the Z is. Okay, all right. So I'm going to here, once it's loaded, I am going to put in a hack.edu. I'm going to scan hack.edu. So I'm going to plug that in, leave it a 10 scan, and I'm going to click the scan button and let it run. It's going to take a minute or two to run. This right here shows the activity on it. While it's running, a couple things we're going to note. This is going to contact that element, which in this case, hack.edu is a web server. That's what we should be expecting to see. The results are going to show some information about a web server. The next thing we'll note is it's trying multiple different things. Yes, this tool is designed to go try a couple different things. It's going to try to do things like ping. It's going to try some things like using different port numbers to see what's open and what's available on this utility or this device, and then try to save all that information to display it for us. It's actually done. But one other thing I'm going to point out is this right here. We're going to use this in a little bit. I can actually use this at a command line and now run NMAP from a command line. I don't need this GUI front end. This is the command sequence to do it. We'll do that in a little bit. Now that it's run, it's gathered some summary information here for me. In many cases, this is enough of the information we need. It tells me, okay, it ran at such day, such time. It took so long to do. It's trying to discover what it can about this. It found out there's the IP of this thing. It's then running a series of scans against it. One of the things this did was go through and try to discover any open port numbers. This is handy when you're working with a device like a router, like a firewall, to find out when you configure that router, when you configure that firewall, did you leave something open that you should not have? Maybe you discover some port numbers open that should not be open. So this would help you see that and help you come up with a plan to say, well, we do want to close blah port. We do want to close blah port. That's what this is actually helpful for. In this case, when we scan, we found out that port 80 is open. Well, that should be understandable because 80 is HTTP web traffic, and this is an Apache HTTPD. That's an Apache web server. That's a Linux-based web server. The other thing we'll notice down here is I see 443 open, which is HTTPS, which we should expect open as well. And as I keep going, it's trying other things on here. If I go across the top now, it starts showing me some summary data. Hey, these are the ports that were noted open. That's what I should expect open on a web server. If I were scanning a firewall and see other things open, then I would be alarmed. Or I might need to dig further and find out why do we need to rectify. This shows a little bit about topology on how it got there, what paths or hops it took. A little bit about the host information about it. We'll find out down here that this is actually Amazon AWS, Amazon Web Services. Yes, Hack website is hosted on Amazon Web Services. etc. That's the kind of things you can learn from a network mapping utility like ZenMap. There's other ones out there. This is just a freebie that we have that we can download and put on Linux. I can actually install this on Windows too. There's a Windows counterpart to this as well. And I can even download and install it on my MacBook. I have this running on my MacBook as it is. So there's the GUI version of it. If I take this right here, I'm going to copy that. So I'll just highlight it and either copy or Control-C it. I'm going to open my command prompt, and I'm going to run this from the command prompt. So I need to use the sudo command in front of it, super user do. So I will do sudo, and I will right-click paste. I'll paste that command in, and I'll hit the enter key. I'll need to plug my password in. All right, I'll do that. It's now going to run the same thing from the command prompt and give me the same kinds of information from my command prompt. So I'm going to close this GUI out back here. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to let it run from the command prompt, give it a couple seconds, and it's going to give me a scan and give me the same kind of information from my command prompt. And then we can copy paste this result for submission to D2L. Again, this would be something you would use to start working on learning about a network and or starting to secure things on a network, like servers, like routers, like firewalls, that kind of thing. So we'll let this run. Give us another second or two here. Once it's done running, as you see on the next page here, we're going to copy paste these into a notepad file or a text editor over here. So while it's running, there we go, we're actually done. I'm going to open up my accessories, open up a text editor here, and I'm just going to carefully come over here to where I started my scan, and I'm just going to copy that the whole way to the end. So the whole way down to the end, I'll do an edit copy. I'll come over here, right-click, paste, and I'll save this guy. I think it give you a name of like NMAP Linux. I'll do a save as. I'll go to, actually I'll keep it simple. I'll put it in the desktop, and I'll give this NMAP Linux scan. I think I have you call it Linux scan, something of that nature. And I'll give it a .txt. That way it recognizes this when I submit it to D2L. There we go. There is using NMAP or doing a little bit of network mapping with utilities like NMAP.